What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about my 5 top springtime lures for smallmouth and largemouth bass. Now my first lure that I'm going to talk about is the spinnerbait. And this time of year I like throwing either double willow leaf blades. This one is in a gold and white color. This is the Strike King Bottom Dweller. This one works really good as a bait fish imitation that you can drag on the bottom and slow roll. It bounces off the rocks really good with the big wide head. And I like throwing my my spinner baits with a swim bait trailer on the back instead of a trailer hook. It gives it a little bit of a bigger presentation and it makes more vibration in the water, and I don't have to mess with it as much as a trailer hook. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the Guggen Squad Zinger in the white and chartreuse colorway. This one has the 1 silver willow leaf blade and 1 gold Colorado blade, and that gives more vibration than a willow leaf blade does in the water. Second up on my list is the jerkbait, and you can throw this in a lot of different depth variations, size variations, color variations, but the ones that I like to use a lot up here in Maine are the Rapala Deep Diver 2, and it's just a purple and gold colorway. It gets down to around 11 to 12 feet, and what I like about this one is it looks like a smelt, and that purple and gold gives off a little bit more flash in the water. And I like being able to use this to get down over the ledges where the bass might be staging up, and I like using this over deep rock piles rather than a crankbait. I like using this one with slow, long pauses in between it. Like usually I use 15 to 25 second pauses early in the springtime. As the spring moves on, I like doing 5 to 15 second pauses, but as of right now I'm really slowing it down with this lure. The second jerkbait on my list is the Strike Pro Inquisitor, and this is a brighter colorway. It's also a shallow diving jerkbait, so I like using this around shallow cover, and I like using it over weed beds that are just starting to grow. As you can see, I've caught some fish on this one. It's got teeth marks on both sides, but that bright flash really attracts the fish in the dirtier water this time of year, which most of the lakes and rivers around here are. All the water's super high right now, so this lure has been getting it done for me this year, and I think it would get it done anywhere else in New England. The third lure I want to talk about is the Shaky Head, and this is a 1/8 of an ounce head with a Biospawn Exo stick on the back of it. And what I like doing with this is casting it up on top of a big rock ledge and just slowly dragging it down over to the bottom of it. And I've picked up a few bites that way this year. I also like throwing it into the rock piles and hopping it instead of a jig, because it has a little bit more subtle action in the water. But this lure works great year-round for smallmouth and largemouth in Maine, and it works especially well in the spring, so that's why it's on the list. But yeah, this is a good subtle action in the water. The fourth lure that is on my list is the jig, and I like throwing it in black and blue and PB&J. And the black and blue football head jig works great in dirty water and just cold water for a crawfish imitation. I like working it super slow and just dragging it, maybe hopping it every few seconds. But yeah, I also use a pretty subtle action trailer. This is a Zoom Speed Craw. As you can see, the flaps on it are super thin. They don't make a ton of action in the water, and you work that just super slow, and you get a lot more bites this time of year rather than really ripping the other kind of jig I wanted to talk about was the diesel jig, flipping jig. And this is a 3/8 ounce PB&J with a mini Rage Craw trailer on the back. But what I like to do with this is flip it into the shallow wood, the same spots I'd be fishing with a spinnerbait if I don't pick up any bites that way. And I usually go up to a 1/2 ounce with both the football head and the flipping jig this time of year, but this is 3 ounces what I had in my tackle box. The 1/2 ounce will allow you to work it slower, and it's a bigger profile, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. You don't have to worry about working it as fast because it's already a heavier jig, so that'll slow you down. But this picks up a lot of bites for me in the trees and on the rock piles, just like the football jig. And both of these colors, the PB&J and the black and blue, are just like absolute staples here in Maine. This is what you got to be throwing if you're throwing a jig on the rivers or lakes around here. So PB&J, diesel jig, flipping jig with a green pumpkin trailer. That's the ticket for me this time of year. The fifth and final lure on my list is the crankbait. And these are both made by Rapala. This is the Rip and Wrap, and this is a red crawfish imitation. And I like using this a lot when the weeds are just starting to grow off the bottom. I like casting this, ripping it up, letting the head get through it, and then just pulling it up through. And you can also slow roll it. I don't do that as much. I'd rather use a square bow for that, but I like using this when the weeds are just starting to come up, or I like throwing it onto the rock piles where the fish are and letting it bounce up in between the rocks because it's such a narrow profile. It doesn't get snagged all that much. But yeah, the lipless, great crankbait this time of year. And I also like throwing, this is a Rapala Shad Rap, and it's a deep diving crankbait. This one gets down to around 11 to 12 feet, I think. And this is a chartreuse color with the orange belly. And what I like about this lure is it gets down into those murky ledges and rock piles. It gets down to that deep cover where the fish are. And this color stands out a little bit more than a natural color. And I pick up a lot of fish during April and May, especially on this colorway, because it's just a little bit brighter. It draws the fish in a little bit more. They might not be super active, but this color gives them something to see in the water column. So that's why I throw the bright color rather than a natural one this time of year. I just want to say thank you guys for watching this video, and I want to give a quick shout out to Eric Inglesong from liquidwillowcat.com. He makes some great lures. He makes some goby presentations like that, and the Willow Cat soft plastics, which he's sending me some, so I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. These lures look great, and I can't wait to use them, and you guys should definitely go check them out at liquidwillowcat.com.